road. They get a little bit closer to changing me. Every day is a great escape. Oh, what is good? I think we're live, right? Maybe. Jesus Christ.
Okay,
Woo!
I know.
Yeah, I can see that we're live.
See my little face in there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on with my computer? Oh, okay. Thank you for bearing with us. I need to try updating some drivers on my capture card. The capture card is freezing, and then I think that is causing some sort of memory leak within Streamlabs as it tries to get it open again, which is causing Streamlabs to crash. So I'm just turning off that capture card because it's cursed. The capture card is cursed. Aver Media, you'll be hearing from my lawyers now. Anyway, what's up?
There's plural.
So yeah, I'll be moderating the chat like a boss. Jez is ripping on my PC. Hurts. My PC is pretty good. Okay.
Hey, I'd like some credit.
I was
also
gonna
been
moderate.
ripping on it.
Are you gonna play, Miles? I can moderate the chat.
I'll play. No, I'm not. I don't think. I'm trying to. Let me see. Now I gotta watch this Streamlabs and make sure it doesn't crash. I'm paranoid.
Fair enough.
Anyway, yes, FPS Boost. I don't know how many times I've tried saying this line and having it go down. So, FPS Boost was introduced this week and rolled out for a select suite of about 5 games. And the suite of games was kind of weird, kind of some odd choices, but it showed the possibility of the tech, which is really cool. Seeing Super Lucky's Tale go from 30 FPS to 120 FPS without the code being changed is a really awesome feature for backwards compatibility on Xbox, and it kind of opens up some really great possibilities for the platform. So they've confirmed that they are testing more games. A lot of games are actively being tested, and they've also confirmed that it will be on a publisher by publisher basis. So this isn't something that Xbox is going to automatically do. Even though they technically have the ability to do this, they're going to get permission from the publishers before they roll out these upgrades, basically. So Jez, Zach, what are your thoughts on the suite of 5 games that they rolled out? And then hit me with a couple games that you want to see come to these or get FPS Boost in the near future.
Well, apparently they are boosting the one game that I really wanted to get FPS boosted, and that's Dragon Age Inquisition. Although I kind of would prefer a resolution boost, because that game is like 720p, 30 frames per second locked on the Xbox One.
Let's go.
And it looks subpar. So that is one game that could seriously use the upgrade treatment. But other than that, one thing that people always often ask for is Dark Souls 3, I think, because that's FPS.
Say, I've never played Dark Souls 3. It's on my backlog, but for Miles' sake, Microsoft, Dark Souls 3, do your thing.
I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen the Stan legacy that I've created, where I've been basically adding Bandai Namco and From Software every week on Twitter with a little letter, basically making a claim for unlocking the frame rate on Xbox for Dark Souls 3.
I have muted you on Twitter after the 30th Phantom Dust conspiracy.
How dare you? Okay, you're gonna be sorry you did when Phantom Dust comes back bigger than ever.
No, I should have muted you after the 7th Silent Hill conspiracy.
No, I got the big brain conspiracies out there, all right? Like I said, it's wild speculation for now, but if it comes true, then I knew all along, and I'm a industry insider / analyst and breaking all the hot scoops.
Oh, Mr. Joanna Dark had a good shout. 2 Human, Evil Within 1 and 2, Blinks and Fallout 4. Evil Within 1 and 2 would be so nice with with the frame rate boost, because those games are kind of like they can chug when or at least they did when they were launched. They're like the frame rate could really get screwy in some parts of that game. So playing that with super smooth frame rates would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'd probably
actually, Evil Within 2, you can play on Series X at least. It's an unlocked frame rate. Yeah, so that one at least you can play in 60. Dark Souls 3 for me, number one. Like, that is the first game. It's another one of those games that is like super low res. I think it's like dynamic 900p and locked at max 30. So it's even compared to Dark Souls 1 remastered and Dark Souls 2 remastered, the game looks and runs really bad on Xbox. And it's even more insulting because the PS Pro or PS4 Pro version got a 60 FPS option as well. So Xbox is the only platform right now that you cannot play Dark Souls 3 in 60 FPS of the ones that it exists on, and it hurts. It hurts my heart. I've put hundreds of hours into Dark Souls 3 on OG Xbox One, and now that I've seen 60 FPS on the other two Dark Souls, I tried. That was the first backwards compatible game that I booted up when I got my Series X, and oh my god, it hurt. It hurt my soul to open up Dark Souls 3 and be like, I can't play this. This is my favorite game of all time, and I can't play it on my Series X. And it's a tragedy, Jez.
Tragedy. You figured out you couldn't play it really fast though with that SSD.
That's true. Those load times though, boom, baby. Yeah, I even bought Dark Souls 3 on PC just so I could get 60 FPS, Jez. That's the reality that I'm forced to live in. Because
did you play Sekiro?
I did. I love me some Sekiro.
I can't play it.
You can't?
I like tried to fight the first boss and he just wrecked me, and I was like, screw this.
I would say until you understand the fundamentals and kind of the Mega Man dynamic of Sekiro, it's the hardest of all of the From Software games. Sekiro is brutal in a different way. It's more fair once you understand what to do, because every single boss has an obvious like Mega Man weakness. Like if you use this ability, it's way easier. If you don't know what that ability or that power is, it's insanely difficult. And that's what I love about Sekiro, is it's so well designed in that sense. Dark Souls is a little more kind of open, so you can do whatever you want in terms of your build and your loadout. But Sekiro, there is no loadout in terms of weapon. You have your sword, and you have all these other gadgets like Tenchu. So you really need to understand how they work and who and when to use them against, which is really cool. But that being said, the final boss of Sekiro is the hardest boss fight I have ever experienced. It took me about
I get in here.
20 times, 20 tries to beat that boss. I was sweating when I beat that boss. Like my heart was, I had like a quarter of my health left when I got to his final form, and it took me probably like 30 minutes of just running around trying not to get hit to beat his final form. And I literally stood up and yelled out loud when I beat that boss. That is the kind of emotions that game can kind of deliver. Super chat hype from Mr.
I want to be good at it, but I don't mind playing hard games. Like obviously I played like World of Warcraft for a million years. Some of the bosses in there just literally took my guild like back in the day like months to learn when they were complicated, and I'd have like pages and pages of mechanics you have to learn, and then like everyone in the guild has to do it properly, and then you have to perform your own class properly and stuff like that. So I'm not like shy about difficulty, but I think there's something about it when you sort of playing by yourself and just getting wrecked, and you know it's your fault basically. Like it's easy for me to cope with if it's in an MMO, because I can just like, everyone's failing together. I don't know.
Yes.
My thing about playing really difficult games is I don't mind a challenging game if it's built right, but if at any point I feel like the game just set me up for failure, if that makes sense, then I'm just...
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, it's got to be fair.
If I don't feel like I can try again and realistically beat it on my next try or the next couple tries with my own skills, and it's difficulty for difficulty's sake.
Yeah, and there's Dark Souls 2 is kind of the worst offender in that regard, because Dark Souls 2 took all the worst elements of Dark Souls 1 in terms of like cheap deaths and kind of cheap mechanics, and basically just fully embraced them. So there's a lot of awful platforming where you can fall and die. There's a lot of like, if you turn this corner and you don't know what's there, you die. And you know, that was kind of the meme of Dark Souls originally, but really what makes Dark Souls fair is that if you're aware of your surroundings and if you're aware of the enemies you're facing, it is fair. But there is a learning curve to that. And then Dark Souls 2 was about stupid, really stupid, like you won't know until you die. Like, we're going to put you in a situation where you have to die to learn this mistake. And that's why, of all the Dark Souls 2 is hands down the worst. Still what I would consider a great game overall, but in terms of being unfair, Dark Souls 2 is the worst offender. I replayed it recently, and Jesus. Mr. Joanna Dark, back in 2020, Sega had announced something called Fog Gaming, which was a cloud service. Do you see Sega instead working out a partnership with Microsoft to bring their vast catalog to Game Pass instead? Super chat hype?
Yeah, that whole, like, I remember that fog gaming tech. It was sort of like, they called it fog because it's like something like half cloud, half not, or something like that. I can't fully remember what the mentality was behind that. Oh god, I'm gonna die here. Oh my god, that's a lot of mobs. I'm running away. I'm gonna throw TNT. Sorry. I can't remember fully what that was, but there are like persistent rumors about Sega and Microsoft working together in some capacity at some point. Sega's obviously seen the value
Wait,
of.
Jez, let's roll. Or I
Roll.
think we might be here.
No, we have to go around this way. They see like the value of Game Pass, and it's driven 2-point hospital engagement up to 3 million, which is like, it's quite a lot for a tycoon simulator to have that kind of player base, I guess. So they are impressed with that service, and I guess Sega's kind of a weird company in that they used to be like on top of the industry, obviously making consoles, and then they sort of had sort of a few years of obscurity, and then they sort of worked their way back up with games like Football Manager and stuff like that. Even if like the modern Sonic games are pretty damn awful, it's still got a good mind share because that movie performed really well, which is really funny to me. Did you guys see the Sonic movie?
I haven't seen it. They added it to, I want to say, Hulu recently. So I'm probably going to buckle down and watch it, even though it looks just so bad. I've heard it's fine, but have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, no, but like a lot of people said Jim Carrey's great in it. That the overall concept is really cringy, but that Jim Carrey was good and that's worth it. I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued because I loved Sonic as a kid, like the classic 2D Sonic, like Sonic 3 with Sonic and Knuckles in was just like peak gaming when I was a kid. And like the 3D Sonics are just, I hate them so much. And then Sonic Mania came out, which was amazing.
Wasn't that a fan-made game too?
Yeah, basically, it was like because like there were loads of custom ROMs for Sonic games floating around. They literally got the modders to make a Sonic game, and it was the best, highest rated Sonic game in years. And now, like, I'm sure I read somewhere that there was dispute over royalties or something, and Sega didn't want to pay for it or something like that. I can't remember exactly. There was some kind of issue, which affected the chances of getting another Sonic Mania, at least on that caliber. I don't know. But Sega sucks at handling Sonic, let's be completely honest with ourselves. But despite that, it's still got like wicked mindshare, which is just funny. So it's like this untapped sort of resource. Do I think Sega and Microsoft are a good fit? It's complicated because Sega has so many extraneous, should we call them, business interests. And I know they've restructured recently and they've sold off their arcade business, but they have got so many business interests in different industries, like entertainment and hotels and all sorts of weird stuff. And I think they are working to organize that. And like I say, they've sold off their arcade division. But if Microsoft bought Sega, there'd be a huge amount of redundancy involved and stuff that Microsoft wouldn't necessarily be interested in keeping. So Microsoft doesn't want.
I
Sorry,
feel like
go on.
Microsoft would only be interested in that deal if it was just for the intellectual properties like Sonic.
They want the studios too, like Relic and the Western Studios and the licensing for Football Manager, and they've got a lot of good studios and stuff. And for people who are asking who's speaking apart from Jez and Miles, this is Zachary Body, who is actually our primary news writer for Windows Central. So 99% of the news you see on Windows Central relating to gaming, probably written by Zachary. And also he does all of our Minecraft coverage as well, and a bunch of other stuff. So say hi, Zachary.
Nope. Zachary, ladies and gentlemen.
Zachary lag out. Did you lag out, Miles? I haven't heard you speak for ages.
I'm here. I'm still
I
kicking.
wasn't sure if you crashed or not.
I was letting you talk.
Wax lyrical. But yeah, like I don't know if Sega and Microsoft will happen just because of the amount of redundancies involved, but they do need a foothold in Japan because that kind of feeds into one of your topics that you listed for the show, Miles, that so many games just miss Microsoft, especially Japanese games.
Yes, yeah, that's something I definitely want to dive into because
I feel like that has been improving in recent years a little bit.
It's been improving in some ways, but it's been improving like in the sense that the game exists on Xbox at some point. Years after it's been out on another platform, it'll come to Xbox via Game Pass, is what we've seen a lot. Which is cool, which is something, but is that really going to correct the fundamental issue that the Xbox platform has right now and the perception that I assume developers and publishers have? Because I personally don't think it's as much about resources as it is they don't feel that their investment in a port to Xbox is going to be worth their time and effort. I really think that's what it comes down to, because we've heard of Japanese games not performing well in the past. But you look at Square in particular. The Legend of Mana HD collection was announced via the Nintendo Direct. Revealed as a Switch game, obviously Nintendo focused, but then you come to learn that it's coming to Switch, PlayStation, Steam. Every single platform except for Xbox. So this isn't a licensing thing. This isn't like an exclusivity thing. This is a game that is coming out for every single platform except for Xbox. And we see this with a ton of Square games in particular and a ton of Japanese published games as well. So I don't know what your thoughts are, Jez and Zach, but ultimately I think it's just Xbox fans, Xbox as a platform hasn't proven itself to be worthwhile for most Japanese publishers at this point.
I think there is a potentiality here. No, this is something I've heard in the industry is that a lot of game devs, third parties, see Microsoft as a cash cow, and that Microsoft, because Microsoft has the money, Microsoft should pay extra for whatever they do. And so, for example, there was shall we say, a school of thought that what they're called now, Platinum Games were taking Microsoft for a ride over Scalebound, and that Platinum were like asking for more money, delaying milestones and stuff like that. I have no idea if that's true, but that is definitely something that people inside Microsoft thought. At least rumored amongst the company or people who work there or used to work there. So there is definitely this idea that Microsoft should, can pay extra for things, which is also why Microsoft often seems very thrifty and guarded because they don't want to be seen as a cash cow, obviously. So part of me wonders if Game Pass might have this effect of, oh, we'll give it to Microsoft when they give us a shitload of money to put it in Game Pass. Like, what if Game Pass is having the opposite intended effect here with some studios? Because we've seen Square Enix support Game Pass quite a lot, but is it going to be at the point where they only support Xbox through Game Pass now? Do they want to get that extra bit of cash in exchange for anything? You know, that's I just killed Zachary with the TNT. Sorry there, buddy.
You did.
I
don't know. I had fun.
But that I do wonder about that.
As I said, that's a really interesting point when you think about it in that scale, because a lot of the Square and Japanese developers that we've kind of alluded to when we say are skipping Xbox releases, they've been more than happy to support Xbox Game Pass. But Xbox Game Pass for them is guaranteed money. No matter how the game performs in terms of sales, the release into Xbox Game Pass is going to net them a pool of money. So is that eliminating the risk for them, or is that them trying to, exploit, as you said, Microsoft's vast pools of money? Because we're going to have every single Final Fantasy in Game Pass, but then their next release is just going to, their next non-Game Pass release is just going to skip Xbox. It kind of sucks to see. I don't know if that trend is going to change. I hope it does, but I really don't want Game Pass to be the only vessel we get for certain releases.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a combination of the two, because obviously Game Pass reduces risk for a dev, but I'm worried that it's going to become the norm where basically Game Pass is the only way we get some of these games. Like, is it going to get to a point where even Western devs start thinking like, oh, well, if it's not in Game Pass, Xbox users won't buy it? Like, because I've already started to see this now, where people like reply on Twitter to our tweets about a game, and they'll say things like, "Oh, I'll get it when it's in Game Pass," and they're like, is Microsoft training its users to not buy games? Because, like, look at Dirt 5. If you bought Dirt 5 a few months ago, you were getting a game that was a little bit buggy. You were getting a game that wasn't super polished and had screen tearing issues and whatever. But if you waited until February, you're getting a more polished version of the game, and also you're getting it basically, as part of the Game Pass subscription. So could Game Pass be having this sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, like a chilling effect on the retail platform of Xbox? That's something to think about.
Yeah, it is something.
Also, this weird there's also this weird kind of paradox with Game Pass where if a game is on Game Pass, you get a discount on buying it. So it's this weird paradox of I'll get this discount when it's on Game Pass if I want to buy it, and also why buy it? It's on Game Pass.
Yeah, it's weird. But at the same time, Microsoft has, on Xbox Wire and in interviews, insisted that Game Pass actually increases retail sales due to the virality. So, like, there'll be people who just don't want to subscribe to Game Pass, and they'll see a game they like and looks compelling because of Game Pass. They see it on a stream or something, and just because more people have access to it, and then the virality increases the retail sales. That's something they said about Sea of Thieves, and something that they've told to developers internally when they're sharing data on this stuff, that it does actually increase retail sales. But I wonder if that is still the case. I wonder if that's still going to be the case after like a long period of time. Like, I can totally see a scenario or a future where people just see Xbox in general as the Xbox Game Pass as the platform, and that Microsoft sort of trains its users not to buy games at retail because everyone's so used to Game Pass now. I don't know if that'll happen, but it's something.
Not been exactly shy about saying as well that it's not necessarily about the Xbox platform anymore.
Well, it's not about the Xbox console.
Wherever the players are.
It's more about Xbox as a platform.
Xbox Game Pass is on PC. It's going to be on Android, iOS, and web browsers, and
yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
then
um,
Medium is the most recent example where even though a lot of the hype of Medium was the fact that it was launching into Xbox Game Pass as like the first big kind of Xbox exclusive, if you will. They came out and said that outside of Game Pass, that they had recouped all of their marketing and development costs in what was it, like a day, 2 days? So that's
yeah.
it's interesting. You bring up an interesting point, and I look at myself personally. Before I had Netflix, before I had like premium, like Spotify premium services like that, I would buy a lot of movies and I would buy a lot of music. Now, flash forward that I've had these services for, a couple of years, I don't remember the last time that I've personally bought a movie or a album because I'm just so kind of accustomed and used to these streaming services offering that for me. I mean, gaming is a little bit different. Obviously, every game is not going to come to Game Pass, but that is an interesting point. Are we going to get to a world where, I'll wait for Game Pass, or if it's not in Game Pass, I'll play something else? Is that how the Xbox ecosystem is going to be? Because Xbox has straight out said that Game Pass is pretty much their focus. Game Pass is the biggest vessel for how they want to distribute their games, and it's their biggest vessel for engagement and the business element of Game Pass. And that's why they're so much energy into marketing Game Pass.
It's you make a good point about how habits changed after a few years of Spotify. I haven't bought any music for like a million years. I bought some vinyls for a little while, but like even the vinyls I have, I'd rather just tell my Alexa to play them instead of actually bothering to get the vinyl connected and stuff. So it's funny how user habits change. I can't imagine ever buying a CD again. Like there's at least with vinyl, there's some kind of nostalgia factor attached to it. And I do still own a load of CDs, but all my DVDs, I had like 5,000 DVDs. I used to collect DVDs. I literally a few months ago just gave them all away to a charity shop. I couldn't even sell them. I had like 5,000 DVDs and they were going on eBay for like £2 a pop. And I was just like, man, like when you factor in delivery costs and having to buy like loads of packaging and stuff and the amount of time and how annoying it would be to post all of these DVDs, I just decided not to even bother and I just gave them all away. I just wanted them gone,
Yeah.
because they're taking up so much space. I wonder if Game Pass will eventually be like that, where we don't even, bother buying games until they're in Game Pass. Like I certainly personally don't have a huge amount of time to dedicate to games, which is ironic considering I actually, write in the industry. But like there was a time in my early 20s where I literally just gamed all day. I just can't do that anymore. So like a game mostly on the weekends and stuff or in the evenings. I don't physically have enough time to play all the games I want to play or that are just in Game Pass. And that's only going to get worse. When Bethesda's games get added to Game Pass, how are you going to find time to play all of those games? Like, unless you wanted a specific game, like, I don't know, something that definitely won't come to Game Pass, like Call of Duty or whatever. Like, but it's kind of like Netflix and buying movies and stuff. Netflix doesn't have a lot of movies that are good in the UK, but I'd still rather just watch some random stuff on Netflix than actually buy a movie. Although I did buy a movie for the first time in years the other day. I bought that Godzilla movie.
Oh, the most recent one?
Yeah,
with Millie
yeah,
Bobby Brown and crew.
yeah, and Bryan Cranston and stuff. That's
Oh yeah.
really cool, actually. I really like that movie.
I get where
Um,
you're coming because when it comes to like music, I know that I am the exception to the rule where I still buy CDs and stuff because I'm an audio nerd. So
I
I
didn't
just
know that.
don't use music streaming platforms. Uh, but like I have a couple of DVDs. I haven't used them in years. I don't buy movies anymore because I have Netflix myself. My family has given me every streaming platform imaginable that I don't even have to pay for, like Disney Plus and Hulu and Amazon Prime and HBO Max. And why would I? I have a huge collection on Microsoft movies and TVs, just from other people buying movies and giving me the digital code. So I don't buy movies anymore.
No, I have, like, to your point, Jez, I have binders and binders of like, DVDs, Blu-rays, CDs, hundreds and hundreds of discs that are just sitting in my closet, haven't been touched in years. Like, I've moved probably like 3-4 times since I put all of those in these binders, and every single time that we've moved, I think outside of some of our like holiday Christmas movies that you can't really get without renting, I don't think we've touched those discs. They just sit there, collect dust, and I'm too lazy. I would rather I would rather wait for something to come to a streaming service that I already own than go get the disc of the movie I own and put it in. That's where I'm at right now. Like, I'll be like, "Oh, I want to watch this. Is it on something?" "Oh, no, it's not." Even though I own the movie physically, I won't go get it. I won't go get
It's a
it.
huge convenience aspect to it. I
funny.
recently put away all of my physical games because I realized that if I had a game on physical, I just never played it. Just never played it.
Nope. It's the same thing. Like, I'll literally wait for a game that I own on like Xbox One, like Rise. I own Rise. I have a physical disc of Rise, but I didn't like reinstall it and bother playing it until I came back to Game Pass, and I could get the digital version. I've literally rebought digital versions of games I already own.
That's how Forza Horizon 3 was for me. I owned it on disc, and I ended up buying it in a sale digitally, just because it was worth it to me to just own it digitally instead of putting in the disc.
Give me convenience
Am I
or give me
lazy?
debt.
I'm probably just lazy, is the moral of this story.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like people will blame Microsoft for all this, but this started with Steam, really. Like Steam, when Steam first came out, and a lot of people in this chat will be too young to remember this, probably, or maybe not. I don't know. When Steam first came out, the internet was mad about it because I remember Half-Life 2 required Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was like, "Oh my god, man, what is this stupid program? I don't want to download Steam. I don't want this on my computer. You know, it sucks that Steam, you know, they're forcing this. We can't resell Half-Life, you know." And games started using serial codes too to get around you know, people just copy and pasting the files. Like on Unreal Tournament 99, you could literally just drag all the files and drop them onto someone else's computer, and they'd have a copy of the game. You could literally just copy and paste Unreal Tournament 99, and it was just fine, even though like it had a serial key. Or maybe I had a cracked version. Thinking about it, I don't know, but it's but this is just what happened. And then like people always say that too. Like, I'll wait for a Steam sale and stuff like that.
Exactly.
You
I'll
know,
wait for a Steam sale. I'll wait for it to be 90% off on Steam and then buy it. And
yeah,
you know,
but even
Figured
then,
it
like,
out,
people
Jez.
still.
So, yeah.
Sorry, what? Oh yeah, people still buy games on Steam. Like Valheim's full price now. I suppose technically not full price because it's early access or whatever, but you know, that's just announced it sold 3 million copies in what, 2 weeks,
yeah.
which is truly amazing. And so there are people out there still buy games the old-fashioned way, I guess, even though there's all these services and stuff like that. If a game's good enough and there's no other way to get it, they still get sold. But I suppose in a roundabout way, this comes back to game devs on Square Enix's side, just kind of feeling like Xbox fans won't buy some of these games, and that the best way to offset risk is to get a Game Pass deal. And like Square Enix is such a risk-averse company. Like the fact that they're like, to offset the risk of making a Deus Ex sequel, they tried to bake some half-hearted sort of like I don't know what you call it, like multiplayer mode, that, or whatever it was. Was it multiplayer? I can't remember what it was, but Deus Ex Mankind Divided had some kind of mode that had loot boxes in it because they were just desperate for some sort of, ongoing payment scheme
Mhm.
to offset the risk of that game. Deus Ex is the last game on Earth that needed that kind of mechanic, and but they went ahead and did it anyway, and the game just tanked because of the diffuse focus, I guess. So I don't know. It is what it is. But Square Enix are like super risk averse generally. Like none of their games feel completely risky unless it's like in their core IP. They went out of their way to fix Final Fantasy 14, and I do praise them for that. When Final Fantasy 14 launched, it was just god awful, and they invested a ton of money to fix it. And good on them. Now it's like the second biggest MMO behind the daddy World of Warcraft. So
The old
um,
zaddy.
yeah,
Yeah, you
but
bring up some interesting points. To touch on that, Trials of Mana, which was basically a remake of this old game. I was reading an interview where the developers talked about how they wanted to have online multiplayer for it, since co-op was such a big component of the game and of that franchise. Um, but basically, Square was going to force them to put in like live service elements, and so they basically had to decide if they were going to dedicate time and resources to make some sort of live service component to the co-op for this campaign, or if they just made it single player. So they opted to make it single player because Square Enix didn't want to invest the resources in online multiplayer unless they could sell things to players, which is kind of crazy that they're so risk averse that they have to add microtransactions to a remake of an old RPG.
yeah, it's annoying. But Square Enix has got shareholders, and they want to deliver dividends for them and stuff like that. That's the thing about having these sort of discussions about these companies. They're designed to make money, and that's why Square Enix has gone all in on like gacha sort of mechanics and all those mobile games. But it just kind of sucks that whereas like Nintendo, for example, as lazy as Nintendo can be with some of this stuff, or like thrifty, shall we say, at least they don't go down this route with horrible gacha mechanics and stuff, because they know it's not fun. They know it's like a really cheap, cheesy sort of way to steal money out of people, exploiting, the propensity to want to gamble. And, I laud them for that. But it's a tough business, especially when like some companies do it with impunity, like EA and Square Enix. And then if your company doesn't do it, you're kind of like not competing properly or whatever. And then your shareholders will be like, well, this company's doing this. Why aren't you guys doing it? So it sort of puts you in a weird position.
Yeah,
It's weird.
again, yeah, we always think about these companies as our friends and our buddies, and especially when you look at their social media presence, that's the kind of aesthetic that they're going for. Is they want to be relatable, they want to be fun, but for us, at the end of the day, they're just trying to make money. Good or bad, it's a business. I get it to some degree. What I like to see from publishers and developers is that they're at least respecting my investment in that. I don't mind putting in money if I feel like I'm getting something in return. But you look at a lot of these big publishers, and they are looking for easy avenues of revenue, not necessarily worthwhile investments, not ones that necessarily respect the player's financial investment, but they want something that's guaranteed, easy, and like you said, feeds on certain kind of addictive personality traits, especially when we're looking at loot boxes and kind of this hook of battle passes and services like that that are designed to make you feel like you have to play because you've invested money. And the more money you invest, the more you play, and the more you play, the more likely you are to invest money. And that's why we're seeing so many games as a service. And I don't have a problem with games as a service. Some of them can be great, but that is the psychology behind how they hook players in and how they suck not only the initial cost of the purchase, but ongoing microtransactions.
Yeah.
I feel like my big problem with games as a service is like some of them are really great. Like Sea of Thieves has been a fantastic example. It's a little weak at launch, but Rare has really stuck with it, and they've done some amazing things with it. But I feel like 2K, for example, with their NBA and their WWE series, is really bad with that kind of behavior because they're really aggressive with it, but it always comes with that overarching theme of this game has an expiration date because we're going to release a new one a year from now when your investment won't mean anything.
Yeah, like I hate the Call of Duty launch cycle. I bought man, what was the last Call of Duty called?
Cold
Was
War.
it
Modern Warfare and then Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, a really dumb name.
I bought the one before Black Ops Cold War, and it was the first Call of Duty I bought in years. And I was like I was having a bit of fun with it, but it was just kind of like, man, it's just the same again. Like I hadn't played Call of Duty in years, and it was just like the same again. You know? So I don't know.
Yeah,
It just is what it is.
exactly, and they have a system that works, and obviously people are buying into it. And until people don't buy into it, I don't see them changing that business model. Because when you can release a game like that every year and have millions of people buy it every year, and then have millions of people buy the microtransactions every year, like as a business, I don't see why you would change that. There's no incentive to change that. Also, shout out to the 163 in here hanging out with us. If you're new, welcome. To all the OGs who stuck out through the first half of technical difficulties, really appreciate you. Yeah, if you like the show, give us a subscribe. We do this every Saturday, and it's cool to see so many returning faces in the chat. Despite my PC being a big old piece of
Like Black Ops Cold War is a prime example of this because like this game was not finished when it came out. It was making consoles crash, the multiplayer experience was a mess, a bunch of performance problems. People were just not having a good time with it on top of the weird next gen specific version and all of that. And it's still one of the best selling games of all time.
It's crazy that Call of Duty can consistently break its own records. Like it comes out every year, and we've had the discussions about Assassin's Creed and people getting kind of fatigued of that series because they were putting one out every single year, no matter what. But then you look at Call of Duty, they do it, and it does incredibly. I bet you every publisher in the world wants that kind of success with a franchise where they can put it out every
100%.
year and it sells like crazy.
What's the incentive for Activision to get down in the gritty details of Call of Duty and fix things when every single year they know they're going to sell millions upon millions of copies no matter how the game turns out?
Yeah, it's kind of like Nintendo putting out Skyward Sword with basically the same textures it had back in the day. They know it's going to sell 10 million copies just because it's got Zelda in the title. And
60, Jez. It's $60, Jez.
$60, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude.
And like if you and Pokemon Sword and Shield, man, as awesome as the end game is, and the end game is really awesome, the replayability and competitive, like I think Pokemon Sword and Shield is the best competitive scene ever. But the actual game that's on top of that is awful. Like the textures look like they're from PS1 era. The whole game just looks like a budget game, and the sprites are ported from the Nintendo DS, for God's sake. Like only Nintendo and some other studios can get away with this kind of laziness. If Microsoft had put out games like this, well, they did. They got crucified for the Master Chief Collection when that first came out, and that wasn't even $60. It was like they sold that at cost, like $30 or something. Don't know exactly how much it cost, but it wasn't full price. Yeah. And the single player campaigns worked fine, but then the multiplayer had all these issues, and they were crucified for it, man. Like the whole like media went psycho about it. The media just don't give that kind of scrutiny to Nintendo for some reason. Well, we all know the reason.
Oh yeah,
and it begins with N and ends in nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. We're a lot more forgiving because of all of the iconic franchises that they've delivered. And real quick, there's some people wondering in the chat who the third voice is. It's our coworker Zachary Body. He works with us at Windows Central. Came in after I'd set up the template, so we don't have his name up. Sorry about that, but yeah, Zachary Body is the third voice. I saw somebody ask if it was Jason Ronald, and no.
No, we're
No.
not cool enough to get Jason. Not yet.
Pretend to know who that is and that I am just as cool as that
You're
person.
just as cool in my eyes. All right. I also want to touch on something real quick because I've had a couple people ask questions in the chat about when the Bethesda deal is closing and what do you think that means for previous games coming to Xbox Game Pass?
Well, I think I think you can expect all their games to come to Game Pass in a sort of staggered fashion. I don't think they'll just dump them all in there at once. They'll probably do like, oh, Zachary, by the way, if we die, this is game over on this level. So we got no lives. So be careful. Where was I? Oh yeah, so I don't think they'll release all of the Bethesda games straight away. They'll do it in a staggered fashion, like maybe one a month or two a month, just to like space them out and make sure that Game Pass has something new every month or whatever. That'd be a much smarter thing to do than dump them, I think. And we've seen them do that sort of thing in the past. So I think that's a fair assumption to make. A lot of people have asked me about Jeff Grubb's comments on a recent podcast he did, where he said he expects Microsoft to have an event when the Bethesda thing closes to like talk about Starfield maybe, and also the exclusivity potentially and stuff like that. He thinks they'll have some kind of event. I think that could definitely happen. Personally, I haven't heard any information to suggest that's going to happen. So, it could go either way for me, but I would not be surprised if that was a thing. But that's all I know about that at the moment.
Yeah, I assume they're going to want to have that big headline moment again. Like when they announced that they were buying Bethesda and ZeniMax, that was huge headlines. So I assume they're going to want to kind of rekindle some of that hype when they say the deal's finalized. Now it's official. Here's what that looks like for Xbox. And I agree that we're probably going to see more staggered releases for their titles because they want to keep that monthly cadence. They want to keep people subscribed to Game Pass. So their main focus right now is having big, compelling games every single month in the service.
When I got the news about I found out that Microsoft was buying Bethesda at like 3 a.m. my time in the UK, and I was like, man, do I really want to take this phone call? And I was so glad I did. So, we died. It's that stupid polar bear, man. A flaming polar bear with speed just ruined me. But yeah, I took that phone call at 3 a.m. and I was like trying so hard not to scream my house down and wake everyone up because I was just like, oh my god, it's just amazing, like exactly what Microsoft needed to shut down those rumors. And I mean the narratives about them not having any games and stuff like that. So that was just so hype, and for them to want to sort of, I don't know if relives the exact wording I'd use, but to sort of reiterate the fact that that is a thing that happened, and also put their mark on those franchises and just be like, yes, these are ours now. Doom guy is now an Xbox mascot, that sort of thing. I think that is like, yeah, that's like something. That's something that's definitely going to be a thing. So
yeah,
it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be this year is shaping up to be pretty exciting. Like I know everyone's kind of on the fence with, Summer Games Fest and what E3 is going to look like this year, but I think this year is going to have a lot of really big announcements, and we're going to have kind of the true kickoff to the future of this generation for both Xbox and PlayStation starting this summer. There's been a lot of projects in development that we haven't seen revealed and we haven't heard about, and we're going to see at least a couple of the bigger ones this summer. So it's going to be a really good year, despite the fact that the pandemic's still going on and development's weird. I don't know what the release windows and timeframes will look like for a lot of these, but it'll be cool to see
how many times they'll inevitably be delayed.
Exactly, and I think we're not going to see dates for really any new projects anytime soon because people are still trying to figure out how to adapt fully to work from home and what that looks like for getting a big project across the finish line. Because a lot of the stuff we've seen released during the pandemic, these were games that were mostly done. Like these were games that were mostly already finished before the work at home stuff came through, and then they just kind of had to polish and get it out the door. But now we're at the point where a lot of these games are being fundamentally developed. Core mechanics, core principles, core engines are being figured out remotely, which will be interesting, and I'm sure will slow things down quite a bit. But that being said, I'm pretty stoked for this year. I'm pretty damn excited to see the announcements come through. And maybe we'll see Elden Ring. Lord knows. That's Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild 2 were announced at the same time, and those are two games we haven't heard a thing about since. Outside of the fact that they're still being developed.
I'm making my daughter some coffee.
Oh, okay.
And Anthony Chipmunk says Ryu and Chun Li in Fortnite, though. I got to comment on that because why'd they make my boy Ryu look like Jonesy? Why'd they give Ryu the Jonesy face? He looks awful. I hate it. I saw that picture and I was so pissed off. Like at first I was excited because I heard that Street Fighter was coming to Fortnite. And I'm lukewarm on Fortnite, but that's cool. And then I look at Ryu's face and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You just slapped Jonesy's face on Ryu's body and you're trying to call it a day? No. Sorry, I'm
not a fan then.
I'm a little passionate. When Capcom holds a special place in my heart, and Street Fighter does too. And so when you're gonna take my boy, put him in this game, and then massacre him like that, take his beautiful face and turn it into Jonesy? Come on. It's ugly. I hate it.
I just imagine
Miles to know that everything comes to Fortnite, so it's not really that special.
But yeah, I mean, I don't care. Like, I don't care if things come to Fortnite. It's not that he's in Fortnite flossing that makes me upset. It's the fact that he's in Fortnite flossing with Jonesy's face. They didn't do my boy justice. Is the problem here?
I saw the Master Chief flossing in Fortnite, and I gotta say that made me a little upset.
Master Chief dabbing and flossing. That's what the world needs right now. That's what's going to unite the gamers. No matter what platform you're on, you can boot up Fortnite and you can floss in the same match with Kratos and Master Chief. All right? And that's something special that we should celebrate. Am I right, gamers?
Gamers.
Halo Infinite is getting in-game emotes. Master Chief will be able to dab in Halo Infinite, confirmed.
Oh god, they probably add that. In fact, it's probably already a thing in Halo 5. Zachary, did you say you're making food or something?
Heating up some chicken nuggets for her.
Some chicken nuggets.
Oh man, she don't need to eat.
Shoot.
I think she would disagree with you.
Maybe.
Hazardor says Jez knows a lot of stuff. He just keeps secrets. Lol. I know when I'm on RDX, they're just trying to squeeze juice out of me. They're just harassing me when I'm on there, trying to pull out insider information. I don't do that for free.
Man,
$1,000.
I know things. I know things about Xbox you wouldn't believe. Man, you wouldn't believe. But the thing is with some information that I have, the plans are so far out that if I leak them and they get cancelled, everyone would be mad at me.
And
so
you're a fraud.
I kind of have to
you're
wait.
A phony.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Humdrum Dog, do you think Platinum Games pulled a Gearbox? I presume you mean like delaying the game so they could drag more money. That's just a rumor. I don't know if that is a thing. I don't have any information on that. I have no, hard evidence, and I certainly don't have Platinum sides of the story. It's just a rumor, an industry rumor. I don't know if it's true. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. But
I've heard some similar things that basically said Platinum Games took the project when they were stretched really thin because they were they were financially struggling, and the backing from Microsoft allowed them some kind of financial security and freedom. And unfortunately, they had, I think, 3 or 4 projects happening simultaneously during the development of Scalebound. And because of that, they were pushing milestones back. They were unable to deliver within a timeline. And it got to the point where Xbox apparently sat down with Platinum and said, all right, what's the time frame? Like, realistically, what are we looking at for this game? And then Platinum hit them with a number and they said, all right, we're shutting it down. We can't support and fund it for whatever that window was. Whatever the window of time they needed was more than Xbox was willing to give them at that point.
Yeah, I have no idea. for sure.
Exactly.
Is there?
Yeah, if that's true, who knows? That's the industry rumblings, which are always you got to sift through a lot of trash to find the true nuggets.
Yeah, because like the demo I saw, because I saw a gameplay slice at, I think it was E3, when I interviewed Hideki Kamiya himself, which is amazing, but he blocked me after it, so I guess he didn't think it was that amazing.
So you got the infamous block?
Yeah, I interviewed him, and it was all nice and smiles, and I was terrified of interviewing him because, like, you know, because of how he is on Twitter. But he was like super nice, and I thought, oh well, that went well. And then after the interview, he blocked me. So God knows what I did to upset
He's
him.
like, I hate this guy. I don't. Ew, Jez, that was an awful experience. Block. That's sad. That's got to be depressing to like interview this like industry icon and then have him block you afterwards. Just, ooh.
Yeah, it sucks because like Resident Evil 2 is like my favorite game ever, or one of them. But oh well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And Jez, you keep teasing people, and people keep harassing me about your teases. Every time I'm in here streaming or talking to people on Twitter, they're like, "What's Jez talking about? These ambitious projects, and what's Jez talking about these secret games?" Why you got to tease people like that is what I want to know.
It's fun. I do it because it's fun. Yeah.
One word for you guys.
I like that answer.
Minesweeper.
What?
Minesweeper. Minesweeper. 4K Minesweeper on Xbox.
Whoa.
That'd be pretty cool.
Okay, excuse me. The Xbox Series X technically sports up to 8K. You don't think they can get Minesweeper up there?
That'll be the first 8K game. Minesweeper 8K.
What is
8K 120?
That is actually an interesting thing. Like, why did they never give Minesweeper the Tetris effect treatment with like super cool graphics and stuff like that?
Minesweeper would do so well with that, I think. Minesweeper almost has that same kind of Tetris-like nostalgia to it.
Then they should do the same thing for that Space Cadet Pinball. Then let's go. Let's do it for Solitaire. Let's do it for Space Cadet Pinball, and let's do it for Minesweeper.
I think I'd rather have Motley Crue Ball. I mean, if we're gonna do pinball, we got to do Motley Crue Ball.
What are you even talking about now, Zach?
You don't know about Motley Crue Ball?
No.
Oh, it's this little quirky pinball game, done in partnership with Motley Crue, where like some of their top songs were done in like an 8-bit soundtrack.
That is so random.
It's like one of it. The game is Ancient now, and I don't even know if you could find it and actually get it to work, but it actually has a really good soundtrack. It's really bizarre.
I'm gonna YouTube it because it sounds awful. It reminds me of that Aerosmith game on Super Nintendo. I don't know if you guys remember that, where they did like chiptune renditions of their own music, and they were basically like.
What about that Michael Jackson game, Moonwalker, or wherever?
Oh yeah, Moonwalker, classic. Michael Jackson shooting lasers out of his feet. Let's go.
It's just so weird. Back before musicians could just do in-game virtual concerts, they actually had to make their own video games.
Speaking of in-game virtual concerts, did you see that Twitch blocked Metallica's own music when they were streaming on BlizzCon
that video
to avoid
had
copyright
me dying, dude. Just the royalty-free, like cheesy folk music playing over Metallica's set was just beautiful. Just a beautiful moment in internet history. Imagine the amount of money that they spent to get Metallica to play. Like, imagine how much that cost, and then to have just royalty-free folk music playing over Metallica. Just too good.
Twitch is going to get a Metallica single now. They haven't been angry about anything for 30 years. Now they have something.
Hans, there's nothing wrong with my PSU, man. Hans thinks my PSU's exploded, but no, my PSU is cool, man. It's fine.
It's all gravy. And yes, who said it? The terrible Aerosmith game was called Revolution X. Dark Travesty knows. Look it up. It's terrible. It's basically about Aerosmith being like this rockin' revolutionary force, like overthrowing this evil, corrupt government. It's a trip. it's a game that could only exist in the early 90s, but it's special. So yeah, we're getting close to about 2 hours, so I'm gonna start wrapping this up here. So if you guys have any other questions for us, throw them out in the chat. Huge shout out to the almost 200 people watching live. Despite the graphics, or despite my capture card, I really appreciate all of you. Again, if you're new, like, subscribe, really appreciate it. Some housekeeping stuff. I teased this at the beginning, but we have some pretty cool upcoming guests. So next week, we're going to have homie Jeff Grubb is going to be sitting down with me. I'm going to be harassing him about why he's gatekeeping Elden Ring. So tune into that if you want to see the hair himself, Jeff Grubb, on. Pretty excited about that. And then the week after that, we have the hype legend himself, Snowbike Mike, is going to be on the show as well. So next 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So next 2 weeks are going to be super exciting, super stoked. Yeah. If you're interested in hearing from those two, yeah, feel free to set those alarms, be ready for some action. Yeah, really excited to stay with Jeff. I learned that he lives in Colorado, like pretty near me from what I understand. So I might be able to harass Jeff in real life. RL gamers.
Social distancing, man. You can't harass people.
See if you can get Jeff to do gamer ASMR part 2 with you.
Yeah, a little duet, a little gamer ASMR
Oh,
duet.
that'd be sweet.
Jez, you're doing Xbox 2 after this, right?
Yeah, I'm doing Xbox 2 in 2 hours from now. So it's all podcasts for me this week because we didn't do it yesterday because I was writing about BlizzCon. Although I probably could have done Xbox 2 yesterday, but oh well.
We got.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But you know, so you guys go live in what, like an hour or two from now?
2 hours from now.
Okay.
On Rand's channel.
Rand Al Thor. Yeah. Did you get to catch me harassing Rand a little bit on this show?
No, I didn't actually.
It
How
was
did that go?
It went well. Like, it wasn't too aggressive, but it was, you know, I got Rand to basically admit that he loved Nintendo at one point. So I got him to admit that he just stirs the pot with a lot of his Nintendo hate. So it was a good episode. Rand's a good dude. A lot of fun. I've been basically publicly teasing Rand for episodes and episodes. So it was a good build to that I guess grand face-off, grand finale, if you will, of that saga. Our fake internet beef saga came to a close.
It's funny because I'm dead. Rand really upset Nintendo fans on Twitter last week. Well, this week rather.
About the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
Was it the one where he said like, I watched this Nintendo Direct because Jez said it would be good, and lol.
Yeah. Loads of people were salty about this.
I have to say, like, I wasn't stoked on the Nintendo Direct. Like, I was pretty indifferent. I thought it was pretty underwhelming considering how long it's been. Again, I know things are weird. People are still trying to adapt.
There's a super secret over here.
The two things I was most hyped for were Legend of Mana, which is a 20-year-old game, and golf, and Mario Golf. So
yeah.
That kind of shows the state of Nintendo for 2021. Skyward Sword was cool, but again, I'm not paying $60. I can't. I love Nintendo, but I can't support a $60 bare bones kind of upscale for $60.
Those games like never go on sale either.
No,
like Nintendo's games never go on sale. I guess
believe in discounts.
I mean, it's Nintendo's like this idiosyncrasy, like where they do like some really cool stuff, but they also so backwards on some of the things. The fact they haven't invested in their online network since the GameCube is just so weird to me. So
yeah, I'm glad that finally got addressed. We're finally at a point where they're not using a GameCube infrastructure, which is, it's just bonkers to me that was the case for. I didn't know about that. I didn't know that was still the case until it came out that they had just switched from that, which is wild to think about. And it explains why most of their netcode for most games is so trash, so bad.
Yeah,
Nintendo is such a bizarre company.
They really are. Axel
like,
says
you got
Jez
the
knows...
Wii, and then you get the Wii U. It's just weird.
Super chat hype.
Super chat from Axel Gaming says, Jez knows his stuff. I wouldn't believe. Let's hear it then. Come at me, Jez. Let's see if I won't believe it. Spill the unbelievable tea. I really can't. I might be able to in the very near future. But this is the thing when you're doing sort of quote unquote investigative journalism. Like, it's okay to tease a rumor on a podcast because, you know, it's for fun and entertainment and it's a different sort of vibe. But the moment I post something on Windows Central, it's like official. And I am working towards things that I can post on Windows Central. Like, you know, when I leaked the price of the Xbox Series X, or when I leaked the specs of the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S 2 years ago now, or 1 year ago. You know, those were like weeks, months in the making, and getting multiple sources to just double check that I hadn't like got a double source on the same thing, and you know, making sure I've got documents to back up what I say. So when people say it's fake news, I can be like, well, look at this document. You know, it's official stuff. You know, there's like a whole anatomy and a whole process when it comes down to actually leaking things reliably, because you know, people won't forgive me if it doesn't pan out. So I have to make sure and double check, triple check the you know, before I actually post anything. But some of the stuff that I know, I'm like, there's stuff that I'm sort of like 90% sure on. So I'm happy to tease them at this point ahead of posting them, but it's only when I'm like at 98% will I actually post them on the site. So I say just keep a lookout on Windows Central feeds for something cool in the short term future.
Nearish future. Yeah. It's, you know, there has to be some level of accountability. You know, with Windows Central in particular, like we can't really get away with posting anything we want. Like we don't cover a lot of the wild rumors. Like obviously stuff comes up, and if there's a lot of stuff pointing to it, we'll touch on it. But you know, you see certain sites and certain outlets that will cover anything. They'll cover 4chan, they'll cover Reddit, and with them it gets hard to separate what is actually true from just a wild rumor. And so
yeah,
with us, I feel like we have a certain level of accountability, and we're not just gonna hear something and then report on it and present it as the truth, which a lot of people do, and it kind of muddies the water of what's real and what's not. So leaks
yeah,
are
we've always done this in Windows Central. Like even back when we were called Windows Phone Central, it was all about making sure our leaks were pretty much as accurate or close to certain as humanly possible. That's the blog we run, and whether we're leaking about Surface or Windows, you know, it has to be up to a certain level of evidence before I'll actually just go ahead and do it. So that's just the way it works, and I'd rather it be like that than just rushing to cover every rumor that's out there, because you know, there's a hell of a lot of rumors, there's a hell of a lot of channels that need content, and also there's like people are just desperate for news right now because there's not really a huge amount of it. So but we are coming up towards, usually leaks and stuff start happening around April, when developers are sort of working on their marketing for the games around E3, or working on prototypes for upcoming games and stuff like that they might show off at E3. I know we don't have E3 in the traditional format anymore because of the whole COVID stuff. But, you know, we just have to wait and see how things pan out. But I should have some cool stuff for people who want some news soon, shall I say.
yes.
But yeah.
It is fun to tease. It's definitely fun to tease. But you're not going to see, you won't believe the things coming to Xbox from Windows Central, really, because it's.
I mean, I'll tease. I'll say that on a podcast for fun, but I won't be on the website.
An article.
It won't be on the website.
Yeah, just a 50-word just throwaway article, giving no information. Cool. Yeah. Well, that's gonna be it for us. Jez, Zach, let people know where. I mean, everybody knows Jez, everybody knows Zach, but let people know where they can find you on Twitter, all that jazz. Obviously, we all work for Windows Central, so you can send us awful comments on the website over there if you want.
Most people send nice comments.
I know it is nice. It is nice. Most of the community stuff over there is very positive, which is nice.
The mean people like to send poorly written emails. for some reason.
Cool. Well, that is going to be it. I will catch you guys next week. And in the meantime, have a fantastic Saturday. Bye, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone.